Hello y'all, welcome to another video of my channel, Esoteric Cloud Surfer. In this channel we take a ride or we create our own esoteric cloud that is a lighter vehicle. It's a vehicle that is also less dense than the vehicle that we have right now, our body, and is also vibing on a higher frequency and vibration. So we can call it a light body, a esoteric cloud, or whatever you like it, alright? It's just a vehicle for your spirit to go in and then travel to a lighter realm of existence and have different experience. So this video is an astrological video and is about the sun, alright? And it's about something that I've noticed that is very relevant, in my opinion, in my esoteric analysis of the transits that we are experiencing right now, the transits that we experienced a little bit in the past, and the transits that we are going to experience into the future. So let's go into it. Right? Today is Mars Day, right? So I'm wearing this red, to get that passion, to get that motivation, and let us get started. So the sun was passing through, was conjuncting with Pluto, right? In Capricorn season, like when the sun was like 22, 23, 24, 26 degrees. Now the sun is 28 or 29 already, getting ready to go to Aquarius season. So the sun was going through Pluto. Now the sun in Aquarius season is going to be through Saturn and through Jupiter in Aquarius, right? Then when the sun transits to Neptune, to Pisces, the sun will be traveling above or through or in the same space as Neptune. And then in Aries, the sun will be in the same sign, in the same house, in the same space as Chiron, and then in Taurus in the same sign as Uranus. So the sun right now is preparing itself, or it's already on the track to do a great exponential travel, a bit of a path that will change the way we act, the way we perceive reality, the way we express ourselves, and the light that we emit by default. Also our individuality and our expression of our creativity. So that is the general image that I want to let you have right now. And let's start doing a little bit more close analysis to these transits. So the sun was conjuncting Pluto, right? So in that moment, the sun was transforming, very internal. Maybe the sun was illuminating and shining in dark aspects that you weren't aware of. And the sun is light. The sun is where we pay attention to also, is where we create an awareness and where we can see. So when sun was conjuncting Pluto, maybe you created awareness in parts or aspects of your life, of your emotional psyche, or just dark parts of your spirit, of your space, or of your creations that were in the dark, aka you were not seeing them. And with the sun going over into Pluto, it transformed those deeper and darker things, whatever aspects of your life, and you were able to see them maybe for the first time, or maybe it's those things that you see and you get scared, or it starts to transform you in a heavy degree, and you want to do those things in moderation, so you shift your focus of attention to another area. So those things can be like cycles and patterns that come up during your life or during your process of internal analysis. So the sun is now transformed, all right, in a deep way. in a way that helps us resolve power and control issues, in a way that let us break some taboos that were implemented by emotional fear, emotional and mind and mental control, or social engineering, or just trauma, either from a generational point of view or from your personal point of view. Trauma created some things that you weren't comfortable expressing or talking about or receiving or seeing in the world, right? AKA it was a taboo. Every time you heard about it or every time you think about it, you get scared or you remember the trauma. And with the sun conjuncting Pluto that we have experienced very recently, there was a warmth light shining of awareness, fire, transmuting those areas. And it could have been the case to you or not, depending on your alignments and your personal experience, right? So then, now the sun is ready to enter in Aquarius, so he's going to conjunct Saturn and Jupiter, right? Because they are both in Aquarius, they are both early degrees Aquarius. Saturn is 3 degrees Aquarius, and Jupiter is 5 or 6. And then when the sun, it will be a bit later because Jupiter moves a little more faster than Saturn. So when the sun goes and meets Saturn in Aquarius, that will be a contraction, a focus on your own individuality, on your own sun, on your own solar plexus. Because Saturn allows us to focus on one thing. Many people say that Saturn is like the inability to do things in general. Well, that is part correct, but is also part misleading, because Saturn allows us to set limits and boundaries, so we don't pay too much attention in this specific case, because it's the sun going through Saturn or meeting up with Saturn. So we set limits and boundaries to the things that we pay attention to, right? So we can focus on our own individuality and creativity. So we set limits and boundaries to external sources of attention, external sources of light, external stars, external solar plexus, however you want to call it, right? Of other beings or those in the sky, right? So we can focus on our own. It's not just we limiting ourselves from light, sun in general. No, we are limiting from others, or you can place on your own sun, and you pay too much attention to the external. That's the negative part of sun conjuncting Saturn, because you can put those limits on yourself, and you go get your sunlight, your internal sunlight, from others' external solar plexus. So it's not just limiting the sun energy in general, right? Also, we are going to be able to organize, structure, connect, because Saturn is exalted in Libra, so teamwork makes the dream work, with our own individuality, expressions, actions, and perspectives of the world, right? So the sun is like going to mature or gain more experience going through Saturn, because Saturn is like a bigger version of the sun. Saturn was once upon a time the sun of this chakra that we are living in right now. So the sun is learning what Saturn is has already learned for itself. All right, so the sun is going to mature itself, and the sun is going to be in Aquarius while conjuncting Saturn, and Saturn rules Aquarius. Aquarius is the male side, the masculine side of Aquarius. So the sun was going to be already in the space, in the 11th house, where it doesn't like to be in. The sun is working over there, and it will be receiving an extra sense of work, responsibility, and constructing, and doing what the sun needs to do ourselves, with our own individuality, with our own creativity, even if we feel limited by the external world, even if we feel pressure into our expression, if we feel like the atmosphere around us is tightening in our own, because I think that should be considered a feeling, a sense as well, like the five senses. That one, the feeling of pressure, the feeling of the spirits and the air, the elements around you interacting with your own field, you can feel that pressure or you can feel that lightness and expansion, right? That should be considered one sense as well. So with the sun going through Saturn in Aquarius, it's going to be an extra feeling of pressure into the way that you connect, express your individuality, and make that work to create associations and organizations, because you are an organization. We have different organs and they are connected through a network so they can communicate and interact. They are organs in a formation, in a nation, organization. All right? Then the sun is going, after the sun is matured. So the sun, step one, sun conjuncting Pluto, transformed and resolved power and control issues and cleared some taboos or created new ones, or you became aware of new ones. Then the sun matured or grows in responsibility and working aspects, and then the sun goes to experience and expansion and travel and expression in Jupiter, when the sun will be conjuncting Jupiter, as well in Aquarius, as well dealing with air, technology, connection, but in an organized structure, building archetype, building utopia, building futuristic kind of like things, or expanding, being aware, traveling to new, previously unknown spaces, aka science, astrology, spaces where we already know things, but the things that we know only leads us, not only, but also leads us into knowing that there are more things to be known. So we explore in those spaces. Like science is very about that. The more answers you get, the more questions you make, because what you learn always remember you that is always expansion, is always space for more. And that's the sun going through Jupiter in Aquarius, expanding technology, science, expression, individuality, change, newness, uniqueness. All right, after the sun matured, I'm messing with that word, I'm sorry. The sun is going to expand in Jupiter. Then the sun goes into Pisces season, right? Mutable water, and will be conjuncting Neptune over there. So after the sun has experienced and expressed, because Jupiter also rules Sagittarius, mutable fire, all right? The sun will create a more mutable, more relatable way to express. When I say your sun, or when I say the sun, it's like your sun, your solar plexus, your individuality, ego, creativity, expressions, actions, the way you perceive the world, and the light you emit by default. When I say the sun, not only the sun outside, but also the sun inside of you, because you have created a smaller representation of the big sun in the sky for yourself, for your spirit to use. All right? So the sun will be conjuncting Neptune after it has expanded and expressed itself and experienced new things, dealing with Aquarius energy, detaching also 11th house type archetype energy, detaching and separating, right? It goes into Pisces and Neptune. So the sun will be now having new dreams, new far out imaginations, because it has experienced and expanded in Jupiter. So the sun now you can shine light, you can imagine, you can create shapes and forms in more distant places, new imaginations. Imagine creating image in shapes and forms in nations, right? I don't want to get too technical on the words, right? But I'm Aquarius sun, Aquarius stellium, right? The sun is entering Aquarius, right? But let's not get too dry, let's not get too cold, because we are talking about Neptune. It's imaginations, dreams, illusions, creativity, but it doesn't come from a constructing or organized point of view. It comes from connection, realizing those feelings of connection, of receiving others' creativity. how we can add when we receive others' beliefs, imaginations, and perspectives of the general reality and spirituality. Just by us receiving it, if we resonate, we can expand those elements that we are receiving. That's the night side of Jupiter, Pisces, receiving expansions and beliefs and imaginations, and co-ruled by Neptune, right? So it's far out, way far out, because Neptune. Right. I forgot to say that this is very important because the Sun will go through the three higher gates, the three elders, the three planets that once upon a time were close to us, to our chakra. So in those times we had a 10-day system, a 10-day week, but now they are so far away from us that they don't influence us so much. That's why they are co-rulers. That's Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. So they are one of the top best ways to get out of this realm and to expand our spirit, because they are already far away in a more distant, more separated from these desires, because that's how you expand and experience new things. You separate, you detach from the present desires that you have, because if you exist, you had desires. So you detach from those, and your spirit now is lighter, can grow and create better shapes and forms to attach to other desires, right? So those Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, they are like gateways, or they are tools that our spirit can use to create higher desires, higher imaginations, higher changes and transformations. So we can detach and grow to broader, expanded spaces in the general space. So our spirit can expand. So the three elders, because they are older than all of the chakras in our solar system, because they have more experience. They are bigger because they have more experience. The spirit inside of those planets, inside of those stars, have created a lot more of awarenesses and shapes and forms that the chakras that we are seeing in the sky and than ourselves, right? So it's very important because the Sun is went through Pluto, is going through Neptune, and goes through Uranus later in Taurus. So the Sun is going to be going through those three gates of higher imaginations, of higher expansion, and going to higher spaces, right? And that was the main point of this video, right? So keep that in mind. It's very important, because the Sun in Neptune will experience and express and see higher imaginations of itself. You can express and see and imagine of higher images of yourself. But that can be a dream and you make it real, or that can be an illusion or a nightmare and you get lost. Either way, it will be high creativity that is so new to this realm that people don't understand it. That's why Pisces are so-called crazy. And remember, Pisces, the sign co-ruled by Neptune, is in the 12th house. It was born in the 12th house, so it's completion, it's the overall feeling of the world, because knowledge goes to a certain extent. It's limited, because it's no ledge. So it's like having a ledge. That's Saturn, limits and boundaries. Saturn is knowledge, Jupiter is wisdom, Neptune is wisdom, because Neptune is like the mother or the father of Jupiter, right? So the Sun, we are going to see and feel in us and others, when the Sun conjuncting Neptune, higher meanings of what spirituality is, why we create, why we exist, why do we create what we create, why we feel so much and so less in sometimes, why we react to small things in a higher degree, because it is meaningful. And Venus is exalted in Pisces, so it's a very relationship of exchanging value. not to the external, to the internal, right? So those things will feed the sun with higher senses of meaning and true wisdom. Why spirits, or what is spirituality, right? Then the sun goes into Aries and will be conjuncting Chiron, the wounded healer. So we are going to see, express, and be our mistakes. We are going to create awareness in mistakes or wounds that maybe we forgot that we had, maybe we weren't aware that we had that wound, or that we made that mistake. And when the sun goes into Aries, that will spotlight those mistakes and wounds. So those can come up, and we are going to be traveling in a very experimental, changing, spiritual new phase. Sun went through Pluto, transformed deeply. Sun went through Saturn, constructed and worked. Sun went through Jupiter, expanded and experienced and traveled. Sun went through Neptune, it dreamed and it has had new higher imaginations. And now we are, with all of that work, all of that experiences, all of that expansion, all of those dreams and creativities, boom, now we are paying attention to our mistakes. And the mistakes that we are discovering might feel, or might put us in the space where we can discard all of those experiences and expansions and work and transformations that we are going through right now, and in the near future, and in the recent past, right? So be aware on that. Use those mistakes to learn and grow, and to make you feel better, to remember that nobody is perfect, to remember that spirituality is individuality, because the Chiron is in Aries. It's creating new ways to feel, express, and see, have visions about those mistakes. So it's not just creating new mistakes, it's looking, because it's the sun, it's paying attention to old mistakes and create new ways to feel about them. And I made that mistake because I didn't knew better. Now I knew better because I've transmuted, I have transformed, I've worked, I have expanded, and I have dreamed new dreams. So now, that mistake, I see it was just a stepping stone for me to reach these new high possibilities that I am right now. So you can use that for that. But that it's very much in the future right now, because it's in Aries season. So I don't want to go too deeply on that. And then the sun go into Taurus, conjuncting Uranus, and after we have transmuted our feelings and mistakes and wounds, now we feel lighter, we feel more comfortable with expressing our individuality and our first feelings without thinking too much about them, without creating new ways to speak or communicate, just new feelings. Now we are ready to change how our sun walks on Earth, because the sun will be in Taurus, Uranus will be in Taurus in that time. So it's how our individuality creates vessels, that create those vessels can participate in exchanges of value and appreciation in order to create safety and structure. So in that time we are going to change how we value, and how we value our own individuality, and we are going to change how others value our individuality, or we are going to, through actions and expressions, or we are going to change how we see our own value, or how we are going to change how we see others, or we are going to change how we value others, how we perceive others, individuality, or others can change our own perception of our own value. So this was the sun going through the three elders, the three higher gates for expansion, and for us to detach from this lower animalistic nature and desires, so we can expand and travel to higher realms of reality, where we can express ourselves freely, where we have more liberty and freedom as spirit, real liberty, real spirituality, and we can create the shapes and forms that we want. Alright? Because that's what we are all as spirits are trying to do. Create the best shapes and forms freely at our own will, without spending too much unnecessary time in one shape and form that is old and outdated. And in this realm that we are living in right now, the shapes and forms that we create, because the realm is low and slow and dense, the shapes and forms that we create, they tend to take a long time to change or decay, so our spirit gets lost and spends a lot of time in these shapes and forms. And sometimes we want to change our shapes and forms, our creations, our image, but we can't because we are still attached to old, outdated shapes and forms. So using Pluto, Uranus and Neptune energies, it can lead us to higher shapes and forms, higher imaginations, and change and transform faster. Just be careful, don't transform too much, to the point where you cut your roots. And now you don't have a sense of familiarity, you don't have a sense of safety, and you forgot about the moon, which is the closest to this realm. So now you don't have a feeling of care. You don't care about the shapes and forms that you already have created. You don't care about the things that you already have. So you start to lose spark, you start to lose nourishment, you lose your roots, you lose your ability to create shapes and forms. Because until you die, and you transform for real, you are still connected to this realm. So you can forget about that, but you can't forget about the three elders in the sky as well. Otherwise, you will, when you die, you come back here, or just die, because we die every day. You transform, and you think you are in new space, but you are in old and lower space. So use those energies wiser, and the sun going through the three elders for us to achieve higher places for our creativity and expression and spirituality in general, right? So, shout out to the Soul Group. We are changing the world right now. Shout out to Daria. Shout out to Flight Boss. And shout out to all of the Soul Group who are putting the work and creating their own shit. And until the next time, as a Terry Cloud Surfer, I just ask you one thing. Keep it real and be your own individual. Until the next Exoteric Cloud Surfer, Esoteric Cloud Surfer, will be surfing on my own. Until then, stay well.